Fantastic. Thank you. Thanks for having me today. I am Grace Mehanna and I work for the Work Well campaign as part of business and community. I won't keep you too long because I know we are running behind a bit. But our vision really is to create the most engaged workforce in the world. And we do that through a number of ways by building the business case, spreading good practice and providing the support. We believe that wellness and engagement are very much linked. Wellness can quite often erode or sustain a person's level of engagement, but also if you have high levels of engagement and very little wellness to back that up, then that quite often leads to burnout within an organisation. There's a very compelling business case. A healthy, engaged and resilient workforce is a more productive and profitable in terms of efficiency, customer relations, loyalty, retention and recruitment. But also there's a knock-on effect for people sort of within the wider community. A happy person at work is a happy person at home and a happier person within their community as well. So there is a broader societal impact as well as for organisations. So just to look at some of the sort of statistics in this area, there's a great deal of research out there to back up the business case for investing in employee wellness and engagement. A recent sort of Gallup survey that's results have just been launched. It's a 25-year survey, so quite comprehensive. Found that 8 in 10 British workers are overweight or living with long-term illnesses, and that's costing the economy something like £21 billion a year, which is a huge amount of money. But also, comparing us to the US, while obesity is quite common in the US, what is higher in Britain is depression, which obviously Tricia was talking about earlier on today. So that's a sort of something that is increasing within this country. And then again, looking at engagement, there's statistics out there to show that engaged employees take less time off work than disengaged employees. And if organisations just increased the amount that they spend in a good range of workplace practices by 10%, then they would increase their profits per employee per year. Prevention is obviously better than cure. And if you look at the sort of issue of stress, it's been estimated that nearly 10% of the UK's gross national product is lost each year due to job-generated stress, which is huge. Stress is now the number one cause of long-term sickness, yet only a third of employees receive any support to manage workplace stress. And in the current economic climate, everyone's having to deal with a huge amount more pressure. We're all having to work a lot harder with a lot less resources. So employees really need to have a great deal of support to be able to cope with additional pressure that they're under. We have been working for a number of years on developing a framework which sort of shows what we mean by a healthy workplace. The 4 sort of middle segments are what employers can do to support their employees. The grey outer circle is what employees can do, and that's taken from the government's Foresight report on mental capital. And then the outer circle is what some of the business benefits are. So if I just sort of look at the sort of 4 middle segments, the first one, I believe you've all got copies of this model in your pack. We call it the Wheel of Fortune, so do take it away with you. The first segment is creating a safe and pleasant physical environment, and that's really looking at things like healthy promotion and encouraging employees to make healthy lifestyle choices. So it's looking at things like healthy eating, physical activity, emotional resilience. We don't really sort of talk about stress so much. We talk about building people's emotional resilience to be able to cope with pressure within the workplace. Looking at substance misuse and alcohol policies as well. The better work segment. We all know that work's good for us. It's it's much better to be in work than out of work, as also has been mentioned today. But as long as it's a good job, and there's certain factors that the Work Foundation have come up with that create good work. So looking at an organisation's management style and structure, and the culture within that organisation, and good leadership. Skills and talent management, so learning and development opportunities for employees, good job design, giving employees a degree of autonomy and control and task discretion, and also looking at flexible working arrangements. And then the next segment is really around promoting social health through good communications within the workplace. And that's really looking at people's relationships with their line managers. Quite often, we quite often say that line managers can be bad for someone's health. So it's really around how you encourage good line management within your organisations. How people relate and communicate to their teams, and also the wider organisations as well. But there's also a bit that understands that people have a life outside of work and want to spend time connecting with their family and their friends, and also their community as well. And then the last segment is on better specialist support. So that really understands that people do get sick, no matter how much health promotion we put in place. But it's around how you support them through, whilst they're off sick, but also providing early interventions and active absence management that support better recovery back into work, but also whilst they're off sick as well. So that's really looking at occupational health, how you involve human resources, and what we see as being quite crucial is training for line managers on how to identify early warning signs, and how to manage these issues as well. So we provide a number of tools and support for companies. We've got a suite of topic-specific practical toolkits that have been endorsed by Cranfield University. So again, they look at things like musculoskeletal health, emotional resilience, physical activity, and healthy eating. We've just recently, well, actually about a year ago now, launched an online tool for line managers to help them manage emotional resilience within the workplace. It's online and it's freely available for anyone to use, and it's been endorsed by Dame Carol Black. Mind as well have endorsed it, as well as CIPD and the CBI. And it really it gets line managers to look at their own, starting with their own emotional health. So what are their sort of stress triggers, how their behaviour impacts on their teams, and then gets them to sort of trains them in identifying early warning signs where a member of their team could be suffering or feeling vulnerable, and then how they can do about it, having difficult conversations, and where to go next for any help. So it's been an incredibly useful resource. It's been currently used by over 1,000 line managers at the moment, so it's been really good. We've also been doing quite a bit of work on public reporting on this issue. Dame Carol Black touched on it earlier. We believe this is sort of, really quite crucial for organisations to ensure that it becomes a boardroom issue. And we have produced some guidelines which were launched in May at our summit. And really we sort of spent quite a bit of time sort of gathering data and researching what is being publicly reported on currently at the moment, and then identified some sort of common metrics and measures which we then mapped onto our Wheel of Fortune, or Work Wheel model. So why should companies report on employee wellness and engagement? There's a huge pressure from the investor community at the moment they're wanting greater public disclosure on how people look after their employees. Everyone says that, organisations always say that employees are their greatest asset. So what are you doing to look after your employees? They also believe that there's a direct link between human capital management and strong business performance. There's also a great deal of pressure as well from sort of new recruits. People who are coming to your organisation want to know what you do for your employees as well. But ultimately, it will help companies improve performance, and also what gets managed gets measured. So it's only when you really understand the issue and what they are within your organisation that you can effectively manage it. We have been researching the FTSE 100 for a number of years on levels of public reporting. And when we first started in 2007, it was something like 68% of the FTSE 100 were doing any sort of reporting on wellness and engagement. That now has gone up to 100%, which is fantastic. But obviously, we really need to do quite a lot of work with sort of, wider organisations at the FTSE 100, but also sort of get better, encouraging organisations to get better at what they're actually reporting on. And when we're talking about public reporting, we talk about their website. We're also looking at corporate responsibility reports as well as annual reports as well. There are a number of gaps, obviously, in what's been currently publicly reported. The biggest gap is actually around psychological health and emotional resilience. Very few organisations, I think it's something like 17% of organisations are mentioning anything on what they're doing on that issue, which is extremely low. We also, the other gap is there's very little in terms of a holistic approach or indeed strategic perspectives as well. And the impact of training activities was very low. It's all very well telling us that so many people have been through a training programme, but what impact has it had on their work? So we have developed, as I mentioned, a sort of framework for organisations on what they can measure. And we have sort of split it up between entry, intermediate and mature. So entry level metric would really be around a statement of what you intend to do, what your values are. Intermediate level would be when you're sort of really starting to embed it within your organisation, and then a mature level is where we'd see some sort of impact or return on investment. We're not saying that companies should report on every single metric that we put in the report, but that they should be relevant to their organisation or their sector, and also linking with their business strategy as well. This report is on our website, which is available to download, and I think it's just there, bitc.org.uk/health. So do go and have a look at it. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Grace.